Welcome to Parent Boss Leader, the podcast where we explore leadership and innovation in the staffing industry. Brought to you by ATR International, I'm Laura Reinhardt Munson, an experienced staffing executive and a multitasking busy modern mom, sharing insights to help you lead and empower your team. Tune in, subscribe, and elevate your leadership because building a great team starts with great insight. Sheena, welcome from GSK, a leader in market access. So happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. And Sheena, you and I actually met at a supplier diversity conference over the past year, and it's been incredible hearing your background, even partnering with staffing firms.
Yes, that's how I got started.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about it. Diving right in, I really would love to hear your story about how you started as a temp, a contractor yourself, and really worked your way up and have such a successful career now. Would you mind sharing a bit?
Of course. I was a new mom looking to get back into the job force after taking some time off and completing my master's degree. And so I have a master's in public policy. And I had saw an offer for it said something along the lines of apply for a healthcare organization in the tri-state area. I was
Yeah,
living in Philly at the time. So I was like, great. I was like, that is right where I want to be. Applied
yeah.
for it. Turns out that it was for GSK, and I got the job, and I couldn't be more excited of the decision that I made. I've been with GSK for 8+ years now.
Wow.
And I'm enjoying it.
Love that. So, what was it like for you initially, really partnering with that staffing firm, and how did it really ease your mind in finding the job?
I think when you're fresh out of college or you've, went back and gotten a higher degree and you apply for jobs, you're like, yes, I'm going to get it. I have the qualifications, right? But that's not
Yeah.
always the case. It's a lot of, well, you're overqualified or you don't meet the expectations and whatnot. So it
Yes.
kind of puts a damper on your job search, like, what's going on? I got all this education. I put the
Yeah.
time, the work in, what could I be doing wrong? So and working with a staffing agency, I think it just takes away that stress, number one, and the biggest, right? But it
Mm-hmm.
also just helps, to have that one-on-one support to where it's, personalized to you and what your needs are. It's supportive and really
Hmm.
just helps you figure out where it is you can thrive and have a successful career journey. So I've enjoyed my experience. I think that was the big piece for me was that stress factor and navigating being a mom, moving, changing states,
Yeah.
and to really finding where I could be successful and thrive.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story. I love that too, for because ATR International, we've been in staffing almost 40 years now. And one of my favorite parts of it for our recruiting teams is sometimes we have a candidate who could be perfect for a role, but on paper, maybe the match isn't exact. So sometimes recruiters can really be liaisons between the hiring managers and the candidates and really helps facilitate a very productive working relationship. On your side, when you partnered with staffing, what do you think surprised you most about the experience?
Surprise. I would say just that personalized approach, I think, because the expectation is that it's going to be very transactional, right? It's like, this is
Yes,
my resume. Okay, we got it. You like doing X, Y, and Z. Boom.
yep,
You'll hear from us soon. So to have it, at least in my experience with whom I worked with, that, to have that personalized experience, it was like talking to someone that I had worked with or went to school with. We had a really good rapport, and then being able to just kind of guide me, help me with my resume, because that's not something they teach in school anymore, right?
yes,
So
true.
having that support and guidance there, and also to your point, the advocacy part for them to advocate and negotiate why you should be chosen for this job, or not, at least the interview at the very least.
Yeah, I think that's great. Great feedback and advice. kind of pivoting a bit, after you went through the whole process, could you think of any improvement areas on on the staffing side? Any feedback, any thoughts? Or was it just perfect?
I would say if I had to pick an area of opportunity, it would just be more transparency around the timelines
Mhm.
of, interviewing, what happens next, and so on and so forth. Because I think even in those instances where you're meeting with the company that you're interviewing with, they're only going to tell you but so much, right?
Yeah.
So you're expecting that the staffing agency will be a little bit more transparent, to give you a little bit more information, as to what the timeline of events would be. In my case, I had the interview in March, but didn't start until November. So it was just very nerve-wracking,
Yeah.
right? You're like wondering, is this
Yeah.
gonna go through? Is it not gonna go
Yes.
through? But I had patience, I trusted the process, and here I am.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. Communication's always so important. We highlight that so much internally here at ATR. Over communication typically seems to be better. Sheena, would you mind sharing for folks who are considering contract roles or even hiring managers interested in hiring contractors? What was your experience in the process from once you became a contractor to being onboarded full time? What was that like?
This was pretty smooth, I would say. I mean, you have your first day, your training and all that jazz. And the only, I guess, connection or ties you have with the staffing agency during that is just making sure you submit your timesheet on
Yeah.
time, right? And making sure you
Yeah.
don't forget that. And that took some getting used to because,
Yeah.
I don't know the last time I had to do that in my
Mhm.
professional career. So they were very, I guess you could say, lenient in that sense. And if I had forgotten, they made sure that it still got processed within
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
Um, and then just whenever there were questions or things like that, the communication level it did improve. It was much
Mhm.
better. I got answers to my questions almost immediately, but certainly
Yeah.
within that 24-hour period, which was very reassuring as being like the new kid on the block.
Yeah.
And then just regular check-ins were very useful too, just to make sure that the job that I had signed up for was not only just the job I was doing, but also there was room for me to grow within that.
Yeah.
So that was super helpful. And, with little pointers and things that were given to me along the way, within 6 months, I was a permanent employee.
It's incredible. And congratulations to you, because your work ethic obviously speaks for itself as well. Would you say that there was a lot of value as well developing the relationship with your hiring manager?
Oh, for sure. I mean, staying connected with the staffing agency as well as the hiring managers, the hiring managers that hired me, even at
Mhm.
GSK, I still work with them to this day and
Mhm.
value their opinions and feedback and so on
Yes.
and so forth. But even the staffing agency, I've referred so many friends and family there,
Yeah.
as well as just colleagues I've met along the way who expressed a little difficulty or challenges in finding a job.
Yeah.
So I think it's super important to kind of keep those connections because you can't forget where you came from or where you started. You have to
Yeah.
remember those that kind of helped you along the way because who knows, with the way the world is, you could
Mhm.
find yourself back in that
Yes.
situation, and you never
Mhm.
want it to be that you left, you burned some bridges or had some
True.
bad relations there. You want to make sure that it's
Yeah.
smooth
Keep that in
sailing
touch.
in case you need to lean on them again.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good advice. Good thought. And I appreciate what you shared about kind of balancing the relationship between knowing the staffing firm obviously is the employer of record. So being in touch with the staffing firm, as well as really building internally with your own manager who you were supporting. Because I noticed sometimes contractors can lean heavily one way or another, meaning leaning, oh, I just report into my agency. I ask everything through the agency, or sometimes I don't talk to the agency. I only work with the hiring manager. Really, there's a balance in the middle, relationship wise. And it sounds like you really navigated that very well. So kudos to you. I think that you are an example to many contractors who want to start positions, maybe go full time. Also, hiring managers realizing that a lot of times contract roles do convert to full time, and then there's amazing, successful employees. So let's jump into a little bit about you and managing a career and three kids. In fact, this is parent, boss, leader. So it's leadership, it's kids, it's the work world, it's blending it all together. How is that for you? How's it going?
It's a circus at times.
Well said. Mhm.
It's, having three kids, they're all at different stages of their lives. I mean, it's really like running, I'd say, two full-time jobs and moonlighting as a chef, a referee, and the occasional
Right.
detective when a toy goes missing.
Oh,
Um,
yes. Mhm.
I think it just, really requires, prioritization is like big for me. Intentional planning because I want it to be purposeful, at least for me as the taxi driver. And
Yes.
just having, they say it takes a village. So having
Mhm.
a strong support system that is always willing to, listen to me just vent or step
Yeah.
in and take over because mama needs a break.
Yes, that is so true. I loved how you called it a circus because I really think that there's no other way to describe it. On one hand, I always laugh. We're uber professional. We show up, we have our business suits, and we're solving problems in the corporate world and having meetings, meeting colleagues, flying around the country. And then on the other hand, exactly like what you said, we're investigating where the toy is, or there's a big hot mess in the kitchen after someone got into something they shouldn't have. And it's just juggling constantly. But I love our modern work world too. I think there's so much more acceptance of parents, where in previous
Yeah.
generations, that was a nightmare, I think, for former employees. Would
Yeah,
you
and I
say?
think I would. And I
Mhm.
think, as bad as COVID was and still is, in some
Mhm.
areas, I think that was like, one benefit that came
Mhm.
from it was the flexible work options to be able to, work fully remotely or just have those hybrid options to where maybe you're going in a couple times a week
Yeah.
because, let's face it, you never know when you're going to have to take a kid to the doctor or maybe
True.
that braces, they have braces and a
Yeah.
bracket came loose or they cut themselves. Now you've got to, drop what you're
Yeah.
doing and get to the
Exactly.
orthodontist. So,
Yes, yes. Oh, the teeth's hanging out. I guess I better go over there. Yes, been there as well, Sheena. Sheena, you've been an amazing guest today. How can people connect with you? Would you say LinkedIn is best?
yep, LinkedIn is best, to reach me. I'm always posting engaging conversational
Yes,
content.
you
So
are.
feel free to like, share, comment. But
Yes,
that's the best place.
absolutely. Well, thank you for joining today. And for our listeners, we invite you to listen more to Parent Boss Leader, powered by ATR International. You're welcome to like and subscribe to follow us along. And until next time, thank you for listening. And Sheena, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.